Okay, so now that you see that we've got our glue all cut off from our existing factory window, what we can do is we can take our trim ring and put it on. And like we've said in our other videos, we want to make sure that our trim ring is bent according to our window. So what you're going to do is you're going to hold it up here, and basically when you hold it in the middle here, you want to make sure that the edges, each corner is down nice and tight. This is important to make sure so your window's sitting on there properly, and then also you want to overbend it so when you put your rivets in, you've got any type of a bulge in your trim ring where it'll cause issues down the road. So as you can see in our new trim ring, what we've done is we've eliminated our paper template, and we put in 2 holes here at the top, and those holes basically are going to line up with the factory holes. So what we're going to do is we're just going to line our holes up here, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take out our tape measure, and what we want to do is we just want to measure, make sure that we're at 1 3/8 on the top, and that's from this leading edge right here, the sharp part of it, to the center of the hole, and then 1.5 inches on the bottom. So, and it's just a verification to say, okay, well if my hole's lined up, then that's where I'm at. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually just take the adhesive tape off of the back here. And once that is off, what I'm going to do lightly is I'm just going to line up my holes. And I'm just going to, once those are lined up, I'm just going to kind of set it on there. So what I'm going to do now that I've got that on here is I'm just going to make sure that I'm at 1 3/8 on the top, to the center of the hole, 1.5 inches on the bottom. This is your most important part. If you got 1 3/8 from this hard leading edge to the center of your hole and 1.5 inches on the bottom, your window is going to be square and lined up. So now that I know that's set, I can press my window trim ring against the frame. And now we cleaned all this with the alcohol swabs that you get in your package to make sure it sticks real nice. So now once that's done, your trim ring is pretty much on there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to just drill our holes right while it's on there. So, okay, so now that we have this on here and I pressed it firmly all the way around, I'm just going to do one more measurement before I drill this. And the nice thing is we've got a little bit of movement. You know, with the rubber it is movable a little bit. So I just want to make sure that we're at 1.5 inches and 1 3/8, which we are. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my center punch. We use a center punch here that when you actually press it, it'll pop back, so you don't have to use a hammer and everything else. But if you have a hammer, it's a little bit easier now once you have your window already on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the center of this. Okay, so now that we have that done, I'm just going to use a small drill bit to pilot the hole. Alright, so now what I've done is I've done my pilot holes for the top 2 and these and the bottom 2 hinges. On the top 2, remember, you only want to go in maybe 1/4 inch. Right when you penetrate the outside metal, you'll notice that you only have a short distance between you get the inside metal here, so just be careful when you go through that. You don't want to run your drill too deep. So now we're going to do the main holes here, and if the inside of these holes are not powder coated anyway, so it's not going to chip your powder coat or have any issues that you have to worry about. So we're going to do the next step up. Okay, so now your holes are all drilled. blow off our metal. And now we can start attaching our rivets. So we're going to get to that next. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put on our hinges. So what I like to do is just set them in here with the rivets in them. You always want to make sure your hinge is facing forward. The circular part is facing forward. So now that they're on here, what you want to do is you want to push the rivet gun in as you're tightening these up. What the key with this is, so you don't hurt your trim ring, is once it starts to snug up, you want to keep pressure pulling away from your trim ring with your hand. That way your rivet gun won't pop and land on your trim ring and scratch it. So just kind of, once you know it's biting and getting good grip, just kind of put a little bit of pressure with your finger, your hand on this side, outward toward you. Not a tremendous amount, but just enough where when it pops, it just pops away from it. So now we got that one on. We're going to do this one here. Okay, do the top now. Okay, now that our rivets are on, we put our latch on the back, and your latch is basically going to go with the indented side where the holes are on the inside. And so we're going to bolt that on now. Going to grab the bolts. Those through like that. What we're going to do is open the door up. Okay, so now we got the latch on the inside. Basically, the easiest way to do this is take a Phillips head, put it on the outside. Just hold that nut over there and you can just screw it in by hand. And you don't even need to really put a socket on the inside, because you just want to make sure that these are snug. You don't want to over tighten them. I'll do the top one, over the bottom one. You can actually hold the nut with your thumb. You just want it to be nice and snug in there. So once that nut starts to turn, you're tight enough. Okay, so now that that's done, basically our trim ring is on and attached. Now what we have to do is just put our weather stripping on there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to clean it off with our alcohol swab pad to make sure it's ready for the weather stripping.